Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 367. We are broadcasting this live on Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. I'm David Lott. Joining me as always is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, what's up everybody?
And Yasha Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
Good evening, gentlemen. How's it going?
Good evening.
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. Just
come on, David. We're doing a little bit better. We're doing a little bit better than just good with that glorious haircut of yours. Let's just tell everybody about it.
You like this haircut? Now, see, you have the glorious beard going on that I can't pull that
no
kind of
doubt.
length off.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did just have it lined up. It's a little fluffy right now, but thank you. If I can't grow it up here, I'm definitely going to grow it out down here.
Nice.
Good philosophy.
That's what I'm going with.
So yeah, what's it been? Got another couple weeks since we've done a show. So there's plenty. We'll try to squeeze into an hour time frame here. We haven't had a chance to chat about the Oscars. Who all did you guys both watch it from beginning to end? I'm curious. Yasha, did you watch it all?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. I started it. I started watching it, and sad to say, I got really bored, and I just couldn't power through it. Like I was like, I'd rather watch something that I haven't seen than watching this, and I haven't seen the winners of the Oscars, so I opted for some other show. Like I just wasn't thoroughly impressed with the dynamic, and it's not for lack of trying. Like I understand and I can appreciate wholeheartedly exactly what they were trying to do and how they were trying to do it and try and make it, move forward and be as progressive and social distancing and all of that. I respect all of that. There was not much of an entertainment factor when it came to it for me. I miss the host. I miss somebody, talking and engaging with the talent that's there. I missed all of that, and it just wasn't landing for me. I would have rather watched a host kind of navigate and just announce like maybe half the awards or maybe just the big ones, and maybe not having to change his or her outfit all the time, but just a comedian up there, making jokes, cracking jokes, trying to make light of the situation, and a very awkward presentation that didn't really hold up for me.
What do you think, Bobby? You watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I watched it all from beginning to end, and it's complicated, honestly, because it's sort of hard to understand what exactly the Oscars want to accomplish. Do they want to be this high art form style show that's representing the best of the year and very prestigious? Or are they trying to put on an entertaining show for the general populace of people who tune in to watch by the millions worldwide? And because of that, and them not necessarily knowing, I think it makes it hard to put on a good show. It's such a thankless award show, really, when you think about it, because every year it gets critiqued within an inch of its life. The show as a whole, everything from the host, to the things that people are wearing. It's almost kind of vile in a way of the way that it gets so dissected as just the show, as opposed to just talking about and celebrating the pictures that are nominated and the people that win it. And to me, I honestly feel like I would be fine if they would never even broadcast the Oscars and just said and read over the next day in the Hollywood Reporter who won for their awards. Because I'm more curious about who wins more so than the pomp and circumstance of it all. But when they put on an entertaining show, it's also a good thing in terms of just being able to sit back for the 3.5 hours or however long it usually runs, to be able to watch something that has a good mix of entertaining performances for best pictures or for the songs that are performed, or just some of the skits that can be done, but sometimes they fall flat. So it's such a hard thing to really pull off and be able to pull it off well, that in a certain sort of sense, I can understand why they just sort of went with more of a um, dry, in a sense, style of different elements, like a host and someone doing this and that, because they get knocked for it heavily when it doesn't work, even though they go into it with every intention of having it work. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, I saw what they were doing, and some of it I thought worked really well. I in theory, I like the idea of music not playing people off in the middle of their speech, because it just seems so awkward and weird and rude when it happens. But at the same time, it when you let them just sort of keep talking, it gets to a point where it still gets kind of a little bit awkward and weird, because they're still talking. You're like, oh, you probably should have wrapped that up like 20 seconds ago. So I don't really think that there's a good way to do it. I think that it's almost next to impossible that we'll ever be able to come out of a Oscar show saying it overall or mostly worked completely. Because even if there's the show itself that does well, there's almost always some sort of controversy of something that didn't win. And so it's like, it's such a jumble of things that seem to happen with the Oscars, that it's no wonder why people are probably checking out of it in terms of viewership, because it's just, especially this past year, because a lot of these movies aren't ones that people recognize as a general audience, and there weren't the big movies because of COVID. So with them not being able to see stuff that they recognize in it, why would they tune in? And so in a way, it almost made for a perfect year to kind of do what they did, because they didn't probably have to play to a larger audience, because a lot of the movies that were represented weren't playing to a larger audience in the first place. So I don't know. I mean, I could keep going on about it, but that's kind of general thoughts about it. I think they tried something and didn't necessarily work, but I like some elements of what they tried.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, especially like when it comes to the lack of audience. I mean, yeah, we haven't talked about the numbers. The numbers are pretty bad. Like I don't have them in front of me, but the drop off was what, like 50% or more, or it was pretty significant.
50%, I think.
But I'd be curious. I don't know if you guys have seen if there's been any type of release of like how many people started watching it and left versus just, like, I don't know. It seems like the show was doomed before it started because, like you said, it's because of COVID. People just haven't seen movies this year, especially big films. And I think before it even happened, there was probably a lack of interest in watching a show about movies when people haven't really seen movies this year for the most part.
Yeah.
But I'll say in terms of the show, like, I mean, one, I enjoyed it more than I did last year's show. I mean, I said on here before, I was not a big fan of the show last year. And I actually enjoyed this show more than that. I enjoyed this show more than this year's Golden Globes. I thought this was a more successful approach than that. The Golden Globes, I couldn't watch. I think I made it 15, 30 minutes in and I turned it off. I thought it was just really bad. But, I get the complaints. I mean, yeah, there's, without a host, it's kind of weird. I have all along said I think the show should have a host. I know there's a lot of people that seem to disagree, that they liked the shows that haven't had them so far. The weird thing was, though, in the show, like, there was no host, and then they just had that one random moment toward the end with, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, who did the bit with the music. Yeah, and it felt, in one respect, I liked that. I thought that bit worked. But then it felt so out of place because there was nothing like that in the entire broadcast. And not only that, but it was already getting pretty late. Like, we still had, I think, 3 or 4 categories to go. And like, they were already pretty well behind schedule. And then they threw in this bit, which it was funny, but it felt like a host kind of moment. And I think it's evidence. I think the show could use a host again. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I mean, there's no doubt the show ended on a really terrible note. But overall, I enjoyed it. But I get the complaints, and yeah, I mean, viewership was pretty terrible. So, with that bad of viewership, I'll be very curious to see what kind of knee jerk reaction there is to the show next year and what they do with it and what. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, I think.
Yeah, you got to figure, and just in general, it'll be different just because, in all likelihood, it'll be back where it normally is in the downtown LA, and being able to have the audience there participating. I imagine they probably will go with a host again next year. There'll be more popular movies that are represented there, so I think it'll probably be more of a return to form next year than them trying to do something experimental.
Yeah, I think they would be best served to go back to like basically the tried and true formula of the Oscars. You know, yeah, I would agree with that. Well, what else has been going on? What have you guys been watching? What's new? What's yeah. I don't
Well,
know.
I will.
I'm looking at Yasha's face, and he has that look
Yeah.
of something like he has something to say about something in particular. So I'm gonna settle back
do.
in and let him go ahead and talk because I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'm ready to be
I
dazzled.
do. I watched Tenet last night, so I got
Oh, you
a
hadn't
chance to
seen it?
finally. I hadn't seen it. I finally powered through and decided to watch it. I took actually Michelle's advice and I watched it with subtitles because at home for me it is basically impossible to hear what they're talking about, and I had it turned up way loud, and all it did was increase the sound for the background music and the loud booming thunderous noises that Nolan likes to put into all of his films. I watched this movie, and I mean, I liked it. I kind of got it. It was okay. Like, I really felt like it. I mean, the special effects, don't get me wrong, absolutely sublime. Like, next level amazing, which is why they were nominated and why people were celebrating it. I'm gonna have to probably try and watch it again because I just like I was looking at it and I was like, this is a lot to just try and take in. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of like kind of had a lot of questions. I damn near called you last night, Bobby, to be like, hey, let's talk about this really quick. Because there was a lot going on. And it was honestly, it was just okay for me. Like, that was like one of the first Nolan misses that I've watched that I've just I big budget films, I should say, that I've watched, and I've just like, yeah, I'm not on board with this. I probably wouldn't recommend this to really anybody who's not a really deep Nolan fan or film fanatic. I don't think I would. Like, I mean, I'd say, hey, it's okay, it's cool, the special effects are amazing, but it's all over the place to me. For me, it felt like it was all over the place. The storyline was convoluted. It was needlessly confusing. The rules were inconsistent. I just was kind of really detached from even being really invested in these characters, especially the woman that we were supposed to be really caring about. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe I need to watch it again, but I watched this movie and I just was not really into it. I just was like, this is not as good as I was hoping it was going to be. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 6. Like, hey, it's cool, the special effects are fun. If you like Nolan's work, give this a shot. But wholeheartedly, like, I wouldn't genuinely like, oh, you have to watch this. Like, I watched Inception, I was like, oh, I thought that was brilliant, I thought it was fun, I thought it was exciting. It definitely had lots going on and it had its flaws, but this one, I just sat there and I'm just like, this is so all over the place. It just seems like it was needlessly confusing. And that's my review.
I get that review. Like, even though I think I enjoyed it more than you did, I don't listen to anything you say and go, oh man, you're crazy. What's wrong with you for feeling this way? Like, no, I get it. Yeah, I enjoyed it more, but totally understand.
Yeah, like I said, I
That makes
might need
sense.
to watch it. Yeah, it does, and it's like I might need to watch it again, and I'll do that. Like I'll take the time
Mm.
to sit down and really pay attention through it some more, and just kind of really dive in again. Um, but yeah, like when I watch this, it's like it's a lot, man. It's a lot to like
It
kind of
is.
absorb, especially the ending. And I'm not gonna really dive into the ending just because there's maybe there are people that out there that haven't seen it yet and whatnot. So I'm just gonna leave it to your own vices if you want to go watch it. But man, it was a lot. Like I was like, this is really really out there, and like I've said before, it's like I'm all on board for sci-fi and time travel and all that trash, and like I love all that shit. But I sat there and watched this, and I was just like, huh,
Hmm.
all right. Like that's kind of my reaction when I was watching it. So yeah, that's how I felt.
Hmm. No, I get it. I guess I forgot that you hadn't seen it yet, but I've been meaning to watch it a second time. I swore up and down I was going to see it a second time in the theaters, and I mean, we should also be shocked that, of course, that didn't happen. But um, yeah, I need to see it again for sure.
I would have liked to see it in the theaters. I think I might have enjoyed it a little bit more if I got a chance to see it in the theater.
Hmm. Have either of you guys been seeing anything recently in the theaters since Godzilla vs Kong, basically?
I mean, I saw Nobody. That was the last thing that I saw.
Yeah, you talked about that, didn't I? I think you did.
Hmm.
Bobby, you shook your head.
I did, yeah. I went to go check out Mortal Kombat in the theater,
Oh yeah.
and that was fun. I think it was what it intended to be. Um, Honestly, I would say that it's an interesting thing because I think that certain movies you might allow certain things to pass for. For instance, when it comes to Godzilla versus Kong, I give a pass to the fact that I know that a lot of the characters, far as the human people that are in it, is not going to be great. Um, it just seems to always be that way, and so you tend to just look forward to the fights between the two big monsters. So within Mortal Kombat, there's some level of that, honestly, to a certain degree, where you're just looking forward to the fights because you want to see the brutality and the fatalities and all the different stuff that comes along with Mortal Kombat. But at the same time, I think not only have video game movies come a little bit of a way compared to how they used to be back in the day, but just in general, I think there's a way to tell certain stories and to be able to structure certain characters that can be interesting even in a style of movie like this. And I think that they maybe leaned a little too hard on the idea of just wanting people to disregard the characters as being able to have a genuine connection with them and just being able to just get to the next fight, big set piece. And I think it's a little bit to the detriment of the film in that it doesn't give you enough of that kind of feeling where you're specifically that invested in the characters. There's certain level that you are, but maybe more, at least for me, it was more on a surface level more so than anything too deep. And so I think that that's where the biggest criticism for me comes to for the film. And then I think the second biggest would be honestly, I think for it to be a Mortal Kombat movie and it for it to be rated R, it didn't feel all that much like it was that brutal or gory. And I've seen more in other movies like a John Wick film more so than this Mortal Kombat movie. So I felt like they didn't go hard enough on it really. So it, overall, I did enjoy it for what it was, and I would watch if they made some more. But I would encourage them to work on some of those elements I just mentioned to be able to make a better movie because it's possible. I don't think that it's asking too much for them to work on characters and dialogue to make it a little bit better and uh, make something more genre specific that could really work within the confines of the story they're telling, and actually be sort of elevated in a way, but not to where it's trying to be high art or something, but just better than what it is, and trying to lean into that low bar level that it kind of seems to be going for. I think it can go and achieve a little bit more than that and still be a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know if they will incorporate that into a future film, but it's still worth seeing. And especially if you have HBO Max, it's definitely worth seeing if you have any kind of connection to the games or the old film that came out back in the day. So I would definitely suggest it to people, but I would say don't think that it's going to go balls to the wall. It's not going to be that level of but it does try to get to those levels, and sometimes it does give you some of that, but then you find yourself realizing that it didn't do it enough. So it's okay, but it could be a lot better. So that's kind of where it is at this point. We'll see how it goes if they make a second one.
You watch it, Yasha?
I no, I just was going to echo what Bob, or talk a little bit about Bobby said. It's like I watched Mortal Kombat as well. I think I watched it twice now, actually, and I enjoyed it. Like, I mean, I thought it did a really good job with what they had to do, what they had to work with. I mean, I think that, like, Bobby's not wrong. They could have done a little bit more character development. They could have added a few more characters, but like a lot of these franchises that I think are being built nowadays, it's like they have to have the test subject. You know, nothing is a surefire win. Not like Marvel is now. You know, even with Marvel, I feel like they had their test projects, you know, back in the day with selling X-Men and Spider-Man, and then finally deciding to do Iron Man. And, you know, Bobby and I have even had this conversation. It was like, what if Iron Man didn't land with audiences? What people didn't enjoy it? Then we wouldn't have the MCU as it is today. I think that they did a pretty good job with what they had to offer. Like, it was an entertaining film. You wait for the entire movie for certain moments, and those moments do come, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I do think it's a sight much better than what we had, you know, in the 90s, but it was, it definitely lives up to a little bit of the gore and the brutality that they have in from the video games. So if you are a fan of the video games, you would be doing yourself a disservice by not watching it, at least, and just kind of supporting this, what they're trying to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning on watching it sometime this week. I watched a couple of things instead, but I haven't seen Mortal Kombat yet. I hadn't really heard a lot of feedback about it either. I don't know if it's just because I've been avoiding certain aspects of social media or something, which I haven't been doing, but I really haven't seen any positive or negative buzz about that movie. I thought I would have seen more.
I definitely saw a good decent amount of it the week it was coming out. So
Yeah.
you probably just missed the wave of it. But
Yeah, must
it was
have.
plenty of it out there for sure.
Yeah. No, I ended up watching, well, I'm 2 episodes in on The Nevers. I watched 2 out of, 3, and then 1 airs tonight. I think the 4th airs tonight, right?
Yeah.
And you've been watching it too, haven't you, Bobby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 2 episodes in on that. I don't have a lot to say, but I'll just say I'm interested enough to keep watching is really the best way to put it. I mean, it's interesting, but I hesitate to even give much a review on it because I'm kind of just unsure really how I feel. Maybe after the 3rd episode, I'll have a more solid kind of footing as to my, feeling on this show. I mean, maybe one of the most interesting things is, you're watching these, on HBO, they do this with a lot of these bigger shows where if you continue to watch after the episode, at least on HBO Max anyway, they'll kind of have this like behind the scenes kind of talk about certain scenes and stuff like that. And for a show that is, and this should come as no surprise, for a show that is, directed by and written by Joss Whedon, at least for some episodes, he's definitely nowhere to be seen in anything for this show behind the scenes, but that shouldn't be surprising. But what do you think of it so far, Bobby? I'm curious.
I'm into it. It's sad and unfortunate at this day and age of what's going on with Joss Whedon. Just because I've loved his work since before, I think he became really a big thing with
Mm,
Buffy and Angel and Firefly and all
Mm-hmm.
that good stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
the show has all those same sensibilities of all those shows I just mentioned, and some of the ideas and characterizations of some of the things that go on, and it's an interesting concept. And I guess for those who don't know, it's the Nevers is this it, it's a show where it takes place, I guess maybe in sort of Victorian age, and an incident happens where it seems to be that a lot of people end up getting these abilities, and in one sense you could almost say their abilities are kind of like make them sort of like X-Men, where
yeah.
not everyone necessarily has a cool ability, but they stand out in some sort of way, maybe in the way they look visually or something. And so there is a couple of women who are also affected by this thing that happened, that run this, it's not a school. I wouldn't call it a school per se, but it's sort of like what would you call it, David? Like a place, a safekeeping place for people who have these abilities. And at this point, it seems like the majority of the people that are affected are women, and
Yeah.
so they're known by, maybe not everyone, but a decent amount of people know who these types of people are, and they're not looked at very highly. But most people are scared of them that do know who they are, and so they're treated and ostracized in certain ways in society. But there does seem to be some sort of underlying uh, thing going on where they're being exploited in some sort of way, and so there's no at least not so far um a specific through line as to what the overall sort of MacGuffin or big story idea is for the season just yet. It's still sort of unfolding, but I'm 3 episodes in, and so tonight being the fourth episode, I'm finding myself enjoying it because, like I said, it's from Joss Whedon's sort of playbook, and it has a lot of the sensibilities of his other shows. So, I mean, it seems like for me, it falls right in line with the type of stuff that I would like from what he's done in the past. And like you said, David, I don't know how far into this first season his stretch goes, but I imagine it went pretty far before he got removed from the show, or removed himself, however it
Well,
went down. But
What
my
platform
under,
is that on, if you don't mind me asking?
it's on
I
HBO.
don't feel. Oh, okay. I
HBO
don't feel
Max,
like
yeah.
I've.
Yeah. And my understanding is he was there through Principal Photography, and after Principal Photography, I think he, or at least it has been presented to us. I don't know if this is true or not, that he removed himself from the show.
Hmm.
I think considering everything going on, I think he directed 3 out of my, and I believe it's only a 6 episode run. I think he directed half of them,
Hmm.
but don't quote me on that either. But I did read one article. I started to dig into it after watching those first 2 episodes, and kind of curious, with his involvement, and how did
Hmm.
this play out with everything going on with him. And I did read. Again, I think it's after Principal Photography. I think he left, so I don't think he was there for any of the editing or
Hmm.
anything beyond that.
Okay. But yeah, I'm definitely into it, and I'll keep watching. So
Yeah, and I'll keep watching too. I'll definitely catch up, and I mean, unless I watch these third and fourth episodes, and I mean, it's such a short run too. I'm almost certainly
yeah,
going to finish the season.
right.
Maybe at the end of the season, then I'll go, this isn't that great, or we'll see if it
Hmm.
even gets picked up for another season. Who knows? I don't know what the plan will be, but it's interesting enough so far for sure. And I mean, also just being like a fan of like kind of steampunk kind of fiction culture.
Hmm.
It's interesting for me just from that perspective. We don't have a lot of stuff that you know a lot of
Yeah,
big
no.
professional stuff that kind of fits in that mold, and that's kind of cool to see.
What was the other thing you said you've been watching,
I'm trying to
or
remember.
you watched?
Like, I know there was something else, and I'm drawing a blank right now. The Nevers was the big one. Has anybody watched
Okay.
anything else in the meantime while I try to think about that?
I mean, Bobby, you probably watched Without Remorse, right?
I didn't get a chance. I so wanted to, but I did not have the chance to watch it this weekend.
I did. I actually got a chance to watch it. I'm surprised to see that you didn't get a chance to watch it. I
Yeah.
mean, it was good. It was savage. Like it was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. I mean, it's a great action movie. You know, they threw in a little bit of the conspiracy and government is bad type of stuff. You know, with somebody, you know, the bigger picture type of things. But for the most part, it was a pretty solid movie. I enjoyed it. I actually liked it a lot. I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like I might throw in a spoiler, and I feel like it's better off if you just watch it and interpret certain things in your own. I have some thoughts when it comes to it, and I pretty much I see what they were trying to do, but I definitely want would rather talk openly once everybody has gotten a chance to watch it. But I enjoyed it, and I'll probably watch that one again too.
From my understanding, and for people who don't know, I know that Michael B. Jordan is the main actor in this movie. And from my understanding, it's a character within some of the novels from Tom Clancy that inhabits the Jack Ryan world. And I think in one of the movies, this same character was played by Liev Schreiber, I believe. I forget, maybe
Yeah,
it
I
was
was
the
actually
Harrison
just reading
Ford.
about that. Just I was just reading about that the other day, and I brought it up to see if I remembered correctly. And this character has been played by William Defoe in Clear and Present Danger and Liev Schreiber in The Sum of All Fears. So he's
Okay.
a reoccurring character when it comes to showing up.
So, is this more, would you say, because I don't really know too much about this particular movie, but is this sort of like a maybe an origin story for this character, or is it sort of he's been on the job for years upon years and we're just joining him in on this latest mission kind of thing?
That's kind of what I got with it. I actually kind
Okay.
of got that it was an origin story build up
Okay.
for this character. I think it would be awesome if they did this, and then I mean they have the series that they do with John Krasinski. If he had a
Hmm.
cameo every now and then, I think that would be so amazing. But I don't think Michael B. Jordan would do something like that at this level of his career. You know, it might just. I mean, maybe he would, but I don't
Right.
know. I think it would be an awesome mix and throw it in, and definitely. I mean, because I've heard from people that they felt like the second season of the Jack Ryan series kind of faltered a little bit when it came to what it was, with the story and everything like that. But you throw another catalyst in there, another antagonist or protagonist, like Michael B. Jordan's character, this just Kelly character, it would definitely add to the story and make it a lot of fun. And but yeah, what I got from it though is definitely an origin story type of setup for sure.
And I do know that originally this movie was supposed to come out in theaters, but with everything that happened, they wanted to just get it out there. I don't know who originally produced it or made it. Was it if it was Paramount or maybe Universal? But they end up selling it to Amazon to have,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And I heard too. It's speaking to what you said, Yasha, as far as being able to see more, that there was an end credit scene for the movie as well that maybe establishes that there could be more movies.
I don't think I saw that. Maybe I'll have to go back and check it, take a look because I don't think I saw an end credit scene.
Okay.
What is Without Remorse on? What service?
Amazon, Amazon
Amazon
Prime.
Prime.
All right. Sorry, I missed that.
Speaking of Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
there's a show on there that I've been watching that I have been thoroughly enjoying. It's called Invincible,
Yeah, you've
and
talked a
it's
little bit
by
about it
Robert
on
Hmm.
here.
Kirkman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you talked a lot about that.
I I have, and they just had their season finale on Friday, and maybe it's recency bias, but honestly, I feel like uh, all the animated shows I've ever watched in my lifetime, that this probably might be in somewhere in my top five of all time animated shows.
Wow.
it's just insane what they're doing on that show. It's a good story because it keeps you involved because it's something that happens and you don't know exactly why it happens. And throughout the season, you get a little bit more filled in on it. But even throughout this mystery of what happened and why, um, the action in it is so brutal. It's like you're watching something out of like the raid or so. I don't know, it's so brutal and it's so violent and so gory that it's not for kids. I've said that before, but it's definitely not for kids. And it's just like you're amazed and in shock a lot of times at just how much they go for it in terms of that level of brutality. And it really feels like if they were being honest in superhero movies in this sense, that the destruction and stuff that happens in this animated show is what would really happen in a movie or a real life if there were superheroes that had the power of like Superman going around. That the destruction and the collateral damage that would happen to property and lives of people would be as realistic as it's shown and depicted in this show. So, I mean, I just had not seen anything like it before and just have really enjoyed it. It really makes me want to pick up the comics because I just am so enthralled by it. I want to kind of see, but at the same time, I kind of want to just let it experience it for the first time as I'm watching the animated show. And I think they had announced either on Thursday or Friday that they got picked up for season two and season three. So it'll be around for a while. And this first season, I want to say it was 8 episodes, I think. So it's not that long, maybe 10 at most. But yeah, it's not a long series. But each episode is an hour long. So
I was
it's a
just going to ask that question.
decent.
Oh, wow.
You got it.
Yeah, an hour long for every episode.
All right. Yeah, I'm still debating the whole like should I try to do the like you suggested before, doing a reaction video to watching
Yeah.
that show just for the heck of it. We'll see. Maybe I will if I get bored this week.
Yeah. Even I'm not someone like you said. You're not very reactionary when you're watching most things,
Right.
but uh, I found myself because I'm mostly like that as well. But I found myself at certain points of watching this having verbal reactions and
Yeah.
visual reactions to it that you can't help it because of what they do in it. So it's
I
definitely
love it
one
when a
to
show
give
does that. Like I love it when a show
Yeah.
like literally makes my jaw drop, and I'm just like, oh, like just like completely shocked. Like I got a lot of that with. I mean, honestly, I got a lot of that with WandaVision, and I got a lot of that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When I like just shocked, just like, oh, like I love it when a show can surprise me.
Yeah, and in that way, it's sort of similar to me as like if they did an animated version of The Boys in certain way.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's kind of how this show would be in some capacity. But yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes in terms of what they're doing.
I don't know why talking about this reminds me, and this is completely just random. I don't know if we ever like, or even off air. I don't think we've asked each other about this. Did you guys watch that trailer for? It's going to be on Netflix, right? Is it Jupiter's Legacy?
Hmm.
What do you guys think of the look of that? I'm curious because I'll just say right out front, I think it looks. I have absolutely no interest in watching that show whatsoever. I watched the trailer and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
probably not even going to give this a shot. I think it just either the trailer is really bad and it's show. It could be a good show and it's just a really terrible trailer, but I don't. Or it's just I just don't think it looks very good. So sounds like
No,
it looks like
I'm
you
with
agree
you.
with me, Asha.
I'm with you on that. Like I literally I watched it. I'm just like probably not. Like I was just like I'm trying to, but I almost wanted to turn off the trailer halfway through it, and I was just like I don't understand what this is, and I have no real desire to kind of like
Right.
dive in more. It feels like somebody was just trying to put out a superhero thing just for the sake of superheroes because superheroes are hot right now.
Right. It feels like the evidence of is this truly superheroes jumping the shark? Like we just don't need this
Yeah.
anymore. Please stop making superhero shows. just
Yeah.
randomly. I mean, I know this isn't
Just
random; it's based on a comic, but
mm.
yeah, no, I thought it looked bad. But would you?
They're not all money makers. Is basically what it
Right,
comes down to. It's like, just
right.
pump your brakes just a little bit. They're not all going to be money makers. So just
Mm-hmm.
calm your tits, like relax. And, like,
Oh, I haven't
you know
heard
what I
that one
mean?
before. Oh
Just
man.
relax, and like there are other original ideas out there where you can get them. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, like I saw that trailer, and then I guess I don't know when the trailer first came out, or I don't even know if this is it a movie or a show. Oh man, I'm blanking on their names, so I'm gonna completely bomb trying to bring this up. Two actresses that are like they end up giving the one girl superhero powers. It's on Netflix, I think, as well. And
Oh, are you talking about the one with Melissa McCarthy
yes,
and
yes, that. And it's like I remember watching the Jupiter's Legacy trailer and then seeing stuff about that too. And I'm like, okay, now there's more people standing around in costumes and being superheroes. And it, like again, going to the jumping the shark superhero thing. I'm like, okay, now this too. We don't need all of this. But anyway, Bobby, did you watch the Jupiter's Legacy thing? What do you think of it? Are we crazy or?
No, I wouldn't say you're crazy. I would say the trailer was okay for me, but I can see completely how you guys would have that coming away from seeing that trailer and being completely turned off by it. I can the elements of what's there doesn't present a strong case for watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was basing it on that alone, I think I would be right there with you guys. But the what compels me to watch it is the fact that it's from Mark Miller, and Mark Miller hasn't really let me down just yet. I
Right.
mean, just run down his list, and you've got Wanted, you've got The Kingsman, you got what was the Kick Ass. I
Mm.
think there's probably another one in there as well. I mean, say what you will maybe about the sequels of those movies, but at least the first ones were all really
Mm-hmm.
solid. And obviously, there isn't a sequel to Wanted, but all still based off of comic books or novels that he had. So I feel like I'll give him the benefit of the doubt since he's behind it to at least check it out, just based on him having such a good track record with me.
Yeah, and that's what piqued my interest to even watch the trailer for it. But I might even go into it more with a perspective of I'll wait to hear reaction. If reaction is
Mm.
like, wow, this is solid, you have to see this, then I would give it a shot. But otherwise, I don't even know if I'll watch an episode. That's kind of where I am with it.
That's fair. Is it a series? I honestly don't know if it's a series or
Actually, that's a
just
good
a
question.
movie.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a movie. I don't
I'll
know.
look it. I'll look it up
All right.
just in
You're
case.
you're on it.
Wait. So did you happen to remember the second thing that you watched?
No, I haven't remembered. Well, I mean, we haven't talked about the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean,
Oh,
there is that.
so I know where you sort of stood with it from when we did talk about it prior to the I guess the season finale. But
The show.
did the
Yeah.
season finale, yeah, the show in general, uh, changed anything in that? And by the way, I did look it up. It is a show, so it's like at least first season
Okay,
for this
I
one.
thought so.
But yeah,
Did the finale change anything? No. I think my feeling for the show as a whole is, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm a Marvel fan. I like these characters, like we talked about before. If it's just a matter of being able to hang out with these guys and
hmm,
enjoy my time with them, then I enjoyed myself. Do I think it was a great show? I really don't. Um, the things about it I don't really care for as a whole. Yeah, I like the story they were telling. I think I said this before, and I'm going to repeat myself, but I like the story they were telling. I don't think at a lot of times I don't think it was being told very well. There were certain times where the show was just kind of dragging. and it's not to say there needs to be action all the time in these movies for me. That's totally not the case. But even so, there was times I think the show dragged a little too much. I do fall on the side of things that I'm not a big fan of his costume as Captain America. I get that it seems true to the comics, and a lot of times Marvel has done that, and I think it works quite well. And I think this is a time where I just don't like the look of the costume in that final episode. Just not my thing. I don't think it looks good on him. I've talked to other people who agree with me, but I don't know what the general reaction to that costume has been. But I don't dig it.
Well, the good thing to know is that you guys are all wrong. So I mean, just go ahead and absorb that. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't give my opinion.
He hasn't said yet.
David.
No, I meant David and all of his friends. They're all wrong.
No.
I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding.
So, how'd you feel about
Bobby, what did you think?
The series? Oh,
I mean, I liked it. I felt like it was a little busy, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was cool. I mean, we all knew that it was coming, and when it finally did show up, I thought it was pretty spot on. I know it looks pretty close to what they have in the comics. Maybe tone things down a little bit with all the stripes and everything like that they had going on all over his chest and things like that. But aside from that, I did think that it was a pretty solid look. I thought it was cool. I just love how he incorporates his wings into just about everything when he's doing it. It's just really an extension of his body and his person, opposed to, just him fighting all the time. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool.
and the show itself.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, I don't know what I could say about it. I'm legitimately, when I was watching that show, I had jaw-dropping moments. I thought it was fantastic. The writing, the progression of it. It's definitely the expansion of some of these characters that I'm hoping we'll get a chance to see. The introduction of characters that they just brought in, and I was surprised a lot. And I'm just really, really excited to see where they go with this in the movie, if they keep the series going, whatever they want to do. I'm there for all of it. Now you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I loved it too. And I think my weakness in the show, honestly, only comes down to really a couple things, which is the flag smashers, where it started off pretty strong and some of their storyline, and it just kind of got weaker and weaker as it went on. That was a little disappointing, but overall, I mean, I was okay with what they were trying to do in terms of how they were presenting it as a story anyway. But the other element that I kind of feel like I need a little bit more there, that I didn't quite necessarily buy all the way, was what was going on with Sharon Carter. So aside from those two things, everything else that they had with Bucky and Sam, I loved all that stuff. Any of the side things that they were doing on their own, and when they were together, and all the other stuff in between was great. I liked what they were doing with John Walker, and I'm interested to see him where his progression goes further on into the MCU. And the suit, I never really was a big fan of the suit, even in the comics. I just thought it was a little too Captain America-ish style. I get that's what it's supposed to be, but for me, I probably would have put more blue into it and less white. But it's an accurate portrayal of it, and I appreciate it on that level, that it looks comic book accurate in that sense. But I just never was a big fan of the design, even in the comics. So I come from that standpoint of it, but I like the execution of what they did for it in the series. And I'm not really that worried about that suit in general, just because it's Marvel and they got to sell toys. So it'll be probably different when the movie comes around in Captain America movie. So I'm sure they'll tweak it in some sort of way. So if you didn't like it, just wait a while. It'll probably change up in some way.
It'll go away soon.
Yeah.
Basically.
You got to sell more toys.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not like my biggest like hang up with the show. It's like that's like a
Sure.
nitpicky kind of thing for me. And I mean, he only really even appears in one episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it as much as you guys did. I thought it was fine. Just kind of where I am. It's not. I definitely don't need another season of it. Is where I am. Like the movie, I'm excited about. Absolutely, I can't wait. But the show, nah, I'm good. I am definitely excited for Loki. I'm curious to see how Marvel continues to do with making episodes or shows of their properties instead of movies. I still feel like in general, I mean, we're only 2 shows in, but it does feel like they're kind of figuring out their way of doing things with making shows of their properties as opposed to just movies in the MCU. Like, seems like it's not like an exact science for them yet.
Right.
And I say
And
that, and
Falcon
I
and the
thoroughly
Winter
enjoyed
Soldier.
WandaVision, but
Well, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier was initially supposed to be the first show out of the gate. So,
right.
when you think of it in that sense, they are and they were still trying to figure out this way of doing it. And for all intents and purposes,
I think we lost Bobby. We froze.
For all intents and purposes.
Well, I
I
feel
hate
bad.
when that happens.
I can't leave that screen up with him like that. It doesn't.
No.
Well, hopefully he comes back soon. Of course, I don't even have. Oh wait, maybe I do have one here somewhere of just me and you. Without, otherwise, Bobby's going to be stuck like that between us the whole time. It's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he's gone for sure.
sorry.
Oh, he's back.
Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second.
So in the meantime,
In the meantime,
I was in San Diego on Friday night.
yeah,
Yeah. I got a chance to. I was walking around the city. It was.
Yeah.
I went to dinner for a buddy's birthday,
yeah.
and it was just. It was missed.
Find me a house.
Definitely missed. What's that?
I was just joking. Did you find me a house?
Did I find you a house? No. It was gorgeous though, just to see the city again and
Yeah.
just walk around. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good old San Diego. I've been watching a lot of Padres games on MLB.TV, so yeah, it's like Petco. Get to
Yeah, good old
it's
Petco.
nice. Good old Petco Park. Anyway, hey Bobby, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Hey, yeah. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know that. So for all intents and purposes,
You'd have to remind me what I was saying slightly before that.
I'm trying to
I know we
remember
were
it now. I'm so
talking in the
distracted. I'm trying to remember what you were saying leading up to that, but it's fine.
I mean, I guess just I was probably just talking about that. Ultimately, I think that they're still finding their groove, and even though it's only been 2 series, I think they'll kind of get it down, because maybe the Falcon and the Winter Soldier might have worked better as a binge watch. Now, they probably won't release it in that way. I think they're pretty fine and comfortable in releasing it the way that they've been doing it. But since they initially had said that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was shot like a film, that that kind of makes and plays into the way that watching it episode by episode felt like it maybe would have worked better as a binge. But that's kind of just the way it is.
Right.
But that's all I was going to say about that.
Well, any last things you guys wanted to touch on before we wrap things up? As we're starting to run out of time, but
Yeah, there's one show I'll mention really quick, because it's still fairly new. I don't know if I had talked about it last time we were on. It's so hard to remember. But there's a new show that's on HBO Max called Mayor of Easttown, and it's with
yeah,
Kate
I don't think you
Winslet.
mentioned that.
Okay, so I started watching that, and she's plays what is it, a detective in a small town that a murder happens, and she's trying to figure out who's the person that committed this crime. And I don't know, it's Kate Winslet, and she's such a great actress, and I'll watch pretty much anything she's in. So this is a series that has that, on a certain sort of level, True Detective feel to it. But you know, she's playing this character whose her life is kind of out of sorts. So she's not like the best person per se, but she's a really good detective. And so you're following her on this case and in her own life, and it sort of branches out with other stories that are being told as well. And this is should be, I think, the night three, or I think of it, because it comes on Sunday nights. And yeah, so far I'm into it. It's something happened in the second episode that just sort of reshuffles the deck and changes a lot of things that makes me interested to see how they're going to deal with it in this episode that comes on tonight. So there's that. And then the other thing I want to mention is a show that I had been wanting to watch for the longest time, but it was not available in any of the streaming services I had, and that's Gangs of London. And that's done by Gareth Evans of the Raid fame, the Raid and Raid 2. And this is a series that initially was only available on AMC Plus, but it just sort of recently made its way to regular AMC. So I've been watching it on there, and I've only watched so far just the first episode, but it's the story of this. I mean, as it implies in the title, a gang that's in London of like a powerful family, and something happens to the patriarch of the family, that now I guess control of the family has passed to the son, and he's trying to figure out what happened to his father. And so in the most of the episode, they're getting all these different families together, and they feel like something was going down based on one of these other families trying to maybe grab power. But all of that is just sort of window dressing and set dressing until we get to like the last 15 minutes of the episode for episode one. And then sure enough, that Gareth Evans factor comes into play of what he's known for when you see the Raid, because the action gets brutal, and it's very violent in that sense towards those last 15 minutes. And so it's mixes that element of, I guess, what you might call the fighting style and action and brutality of the Raid with a mafia type show. So I'm into it. It's only one episode, but I'll definitely be finishing up the series. I'm pretty sure it got picked up for a second season, but I don't know that a second season has aired yet.
And how did you say you're able to watch it now? It's on just AMC, like on demand, or?
Yeah, no, not on demand, just regular AMC.
Oh, okay.
You're able to just watch it on AMC. You can either record it, or I think you can watch the video on demand version of it as well.
Gotcha. And sorry, your video has frozen
Yeah,
again,
frozen.
but at least we can hear you.
Yeah.
Just fine. So, Yasha, any last things before we wrap things up?
No, I think I've covered pretty much what I wanted to talk about and chat with and whatnot. So definitely trying to find some new things to watch and talk about.
Yes, I will be doing that this week as well. So yeah, with that, we're gonna wrap things up, get out of here. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com with your questions and comments. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to leave comments or questions down below. Hit like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we post any videos or go live in the future. We are also broadcasting this live on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram, by the way, at Flicker_effect, and on Facebook at facebook.com/FlickerEffect. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Yasha Wilson.
Thanks for watching.